Hi guys, so a little change up in video today. I'm gonna put the running content to one side for a minute and look at boxing. Obviously, I'm a huge boxing fan. I find it really interesting to follow it, to study it. Obviously, I trained Muay Thai and MMA, so I've done a little bit personally, but not as much as I'd have liked to. So I think it's what? I think we're 3 months on from KSI versus Tommy Fury. So I thought it would be interesting what we can learn from that fight. I think the first thing I want to start off by saying is KSI deserves a lot of praise for taking that fight. His fights before that were Swarms, Pineda, you know, very low level. So to jump from that to Tommy Fury, who beat Jake very convincingly. I know obviously his battle with Jake was a split decision, and people give him a lot of hate for it. They like to say, "Oh, you lost two split decisions to YouTuber," but he outboxed Jake in that. You know, he won that very convincingly, in my opinion. So yeah, back to the point at hand. KSI deserves a lot of credit for taking the fight. One thing I think is worth pondering is, should he have been more humble after the loss? Like, I completely get that he thought he won. You know, it was a very close. It was a close call, right? It could have gone either way. It wasn't a robbery because I think non-boxing fans don't realize that in order for something to be a robbery, it has to be like completely obvious the other person has won. So it was a close fight. It wasn't a robbery. I get that he thinks he won. He has to back himself. But on the flip side of that, if you tell people you're going to do something, you have to do it, right? You have to be a man of your word. So for KSI to, he told everyone he was going to knock out Tommy Fury. He went on the podcast and said it. He went on the news and said it. All the YouTube channels, I'm going to knock out Tommy Fury. So when you don't knock out Tommy Fury, it looks bad, right? Do you need to apologize? I think if he was more humble after the loss, if he said something like, look, tried my best, wasn't able to knock Tommy Fury out like I told you guys I would, I'm sorry, I let you down. It comes off better than, oh, I won that fight. Oh, I clearly won that fight. Tommy Fury, go and give him loads of hate. It comes off better, doesn't it? I think it's something worth pondering. That's what I learned from my first half marathon. I realized, I have to do the things I was going to say. I wasn't fully ready for the first half marathon, definitely on reflection. I know that on reflection, but at the time, I think I knew that as well. But I was like, look, I've told everyone I'm going to do a half marathon. I've got to do it now, or everyone's going to think, can't trust this guy. He doesn't keep his word. He doesn't say the things he doesn't do the things he says he's going to do, which isn't good, right? I think the second thing we can learn from it is focus on your weaknesses. This is something David Goggins talks about a lot. He says, why would I focus on my strengths? I'd focus on my weaknesses. He always says he's traditionally been a really bad long distance runner. He's had, real problems with his legs and ankles from young. And that's why he wanted to do it, because he wanted to prove to himself that he could do something difficult, something he wasn't naturally good at. That's something I've definitely found on my running journey. I'm not a natural runner. I've been around people who can just run so quickly without even, a lot of training, probably just genetics, long twitch muscles. I remember I was at university, I just did like a 7K. There was like a lap route. You could do 7K, 14K, or a half marathon. This guy barely run before. He just turned up and did a half marathon in like an hour 50. I was like, whereas I've been, running on and off for months, I can dream of doing like a 2 hour 30 half marathon. So back to the original point. Work on your weaknesses, not your strength. We all knew KSI had great cardio. We've known that from ages. It's all he's ever talked about. We know he loves running. We've seen him on I don't know what it's called, but we've seen him in that video. Really good video, it released before the fight, showing how hard he can train. But it's like, we know you've got cardio. Work on your boxing ability. I'm not saying he's not a bad boxer, and I'm sure he was doing it, but I think it's worth asking, were his priorities in the right place? You know, it's so easy to focus on your strengths and not your weaknesses. But, you know, you always got to work on your weaknesses. So, yeah, I think they're the two learning points I think we can take away from it. So obviously that's from KSI's perspective, but how does the fight come across for Tommy Fury? I think okay, like, as you know, the reason he won is probably because he was trying to initiate something, you know, he was trying to box him, whereas KSI was always on the outside. That's probably why he won the fight in the end, because boxing is subjective, you know, it's up to the boxing judges how they feel as to who wins. So that's probably why he won, because the boxers preferred that he was trying to initiate something. I mean, it's not brilliant though, is it? Like, not being able to conclusively win against a YouTuber when you have that Fury name. I wonder what's next for Tommy Fury. Obviously, there was that talk about him fighting some retired old guy. I want to say Roy Jones, but I'm not sure if that's correct. Hopefully he won't do that, because there's no good, does it, fighting some old man who's past his prime. So it's interesting for him. I wonder what's next. Logan Paul maybe, but I can't see Logan Paul being in a rush to go back to boxing again after the Dylan Dennis stuff, and I don't think he's that good a boxer, and he probably wants to focus on WWE. So yeah, I'll be interested to wonder what's next for Tommy Fury. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.